There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out. Slowly feel all that's around you. All that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite, yeah, when we unite, oh, we unite, yeah, yeah, when we unite, yeah, yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Good afternoon and welcome. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I am so glad that you've chosen to spend a little time with us this afternoon or whenever it is that you are watching, and representing Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. So we're starting a new program this year, and I'm super excited, super charged about it. And actually, we already had a gathering in person this morning. And so this is our second one today, but we're actually doing a different topic this afternoon and for the rest of the year in our virtual program. But before we get into all of that, I think I'll, especially for all of you newcomers, to tell you a little bit about our Center for Spiritual Living and what we're about. So let's see here. Our vision and mission and our value statements. Let's get that pulled up here. Let's see. Something is going on here. Okay. So, the number one thing at the top of our list of what is important to us and the things that we value at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala: spiritual growth and practice. That is the whole reason that we come together. We believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so we come together to learn together, to teach one another, and to grow. And that is why we exist. The second value on our list is love. We believe that love is the essence of who we are as these spiritual beings. It is love that we come from, and is love that we return to when our human journey is over. So that is also at the top of our list. And then we have appreciation, which is gratitude, gratefulness, appreciating the things that are in front of us. And as we appreciate, appreciation is also a term in finance. So the things that appreciate grow. And so you want to be careful what you're paying attention to, and to appreciate the good that's in your life, because what you appreciate is going to expand in your awareness and understanding. We value community, our online community. We value our in-person community. There are things that we can learn and experiences that we can have that can really only happen in community. There are also experiences that we can have that are only for us individually, but we value both of those things. And so community is really important. We value freedom. That's freedom of expression, freedom of thought. You'll find when you come to the center that there are a lot of free thinking people, out of the box kind of folks, and we appreciate that. We value creativity. We believe that we are created in the image and likeness of our Creator, of God, of Spirit, whatever you want to call it. But the way that we are like the Creator is that we have creative capacity ourselves. And so we value creativity. And we value health and wholeness. I think everybody has been thinking about that, but especially at the beginning of the year, we tend to think about our physical health. I don't know how many of you are making resolutions to lose weight or to eat better or whatever. So we support those endeavors at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, and being the healthiest and the best that we can. We value generosity. Right? Generosity, giving and receiving are, those things that circle each other. So we give and we receive, and we give and we receive, and they go together. So we value generosity, and we are a generous group of people, I believe. And we value financial well-being, because it's part of what we need in this human life, right? We've got bills and things to pay and whatnot. So finances can add a lot of stress. So we think that our financial well-being is as important as our well-being in our physical lives and in our relationships and our minds and all of that. So that is what we value. And our vision at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala is that we are a model center for spiritual living, as evidenced by the transformational impact we have, not just on our own spiritual community, the people that come in our doors or the people that tune in, but that we have an impact on the larger Centers for Spiritual Living organization and the community where we live. And the program that we're talking about today, our focus for this year, really speaks to that idea of transforming our larger organization and the community of Ocala, Marion County, or wherever you happen to be, where you're watching. And then our mission is to empower individuals to awaken to that power and presence that lies within and all around them, so they may live their best lives. You can call it God, call it Creator, call it universe, whatever you want to call it. We're not separate from it. We are one with that power and presence that created everything. And so we just have to learn how to utilize that. And the understanding of that allows for us to live our lives more intentionally and more consciously. And so that is what we are about at CSL Ocala. And Last year, we did the Revolutionary Love Project from Valerie Kaur. And this year, we're doing a program that I created that's come from a lot of years of working with people, often in crisis situations. But not just that, it's not just about healing, it's about thriving. It's about moving beyond just healing and surviving to actually thriving in our lives. And the program is called S.E.L.F. Renewal, which stands for Social, Emotional, Life Focused Renewal. And so we're going to be talking about our emotions, how to, well, let me pop something up here so you can see what it is. And then I will bring in our guests. So this is our objectives in self-renewal. Again, self stands for social, emotional, life-focused renewal. And it's about that social emotional learning, understanding our emotions, understanding the purpose of emotion and how to use them to their best and not get used up by our emotions. I hope that folks who are part of this will experience emotional healing wherever that might be, and that there's understanding principles and tools for establishing and maintaining healthy relationships, and also tools for healing when there has been harm, and then to learn ways to safely engage in and transform conflict. So it's a lot, but we've got 12 months to go through all of this. And today, our specific topic is the idea of paradigms and possibilities. And so I'm going to bring in our guests.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Well, really
Hi.
not guests because you're part of CSL Ocala. As our
Exactly.
practitioners, you're not really guests. We're all homegrown today.
Yes.
Maybe it was a guess. Guess who's gonna be on?
Yes. So thank you, ladies. These are our practitioners at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, the dynamic duo of Donna Davis and Norma Anderson, the Andervis.
The Andivises.
The Andervis couple. Yes, yes. So thank you, ladies, for being here. And
Always a
we should
pleasure.
probably pray in, shouldn't we?
Yes. Yes, we
Let's
should do
do a
that.
pray in. Let's do a pray in. So we'll let Donna take that over, just because I just love how you pray.
Does get you
All
there.
right. Let's pray us
Self-awareness.
in. Yes, self-awareness. All
Mm.
right.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Welcome to Sunday Fun Day. And we are going to dive into a little bit of self-awareness, becoming aware of the energy that is all around us and within us, and just expanding that. And so in Centers of Spiritual Living, we call that a spiritual mind treatment, which has 5 steps. And so we are going to do that now. And I invite you to close your eyes if that works for you, or maybe soften your gaze. Take a deep breath in. Shake out the day. And I recognize the allness of the One. I recognize life moving and pulsating all around me. As I breathe in life, that life giving breath gives to this body and exhales out. And I am connecting to the allness that is the One. It is in that awareness and my connectivity that I know that today's conversation with Reverend Cindy Grimes and Norma Anderson and myself, reaching out to those in the community virtually to touch lives if they are on live or coming back later. But these topics and this message connects to the allness that is them. And then as they use these thoughts and ideas, or as things are unlocked within themselves, and they too are then expressing themselves out in the world, then that's also connecting to the allness that is within each and every one of us. And this ripple effect that goes out, that connects to the allness. As we connect to this that dropped into Reverend Cindy, this gift that is this course, self-renewal for the year. I know that as we do this and expand ourselves, this is the allness recognizing itself, that we are all one. I speak my word knowing that all of this is unfolding beautifully in our conversation, in our stories, in other guests, in the ears that hear this message, in the conversations that are started around the topics. All of this is already known in divine mind. And I'm releasing it into the law, knowing that the law is always working for the unfoldment of everything beautifully. And so it is. Amen. Ashe.
Mm.
Oops, I was muted. And so it is. Amen.
So it is.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Thank you, ladies. I just got to give you all another little shout out because we just did a whole thing this morning. And it was our first time back in our sanctuary since COVID. You know, we met in the summer a couple of times, kind of a false start. And now, you know, back in the center. And so it was a little bit of a challenge. You know, it's been a minute
Yeah.
since we've been out there again, but we did it and it was good. And I thank you. And here we are, you know, for this part. And as well as the person you're not seeing, the guy behind the scenes who's helping to produce, Richard, who is our man of many talents and, you know, tech guru and social media, and he produces for us here. And so
Everything.
we just have so many wonderful, wonderful people. I want to remind people, you know, that they see me a lot of the times, or they see you guys, but they don't know all the other people that are behind the scenes making things happen and
Yeah.
encouraging and
Takes a tribe.
For sure.
Definitely does.
For real. It takes a tribe. So thank you, ladies, for this conversation. And, you know, you've done this class as well, and you were living this stuff before anyway. But I wanted people to know, you know, this course came out of work that I've done in peace building and years of other self-help and personal empowerment and stuff like that. And it feels like opportune, right? The time, you know, for we're talking social emotional life focus, and there's so much pain and difficulty out there around the pandemic and people, you know, work and health issues, like just so many things. And I feel like I personally have made it through this time much easier and much better because I've been in practice of this stuff.
Oh man.
Can y'all relate?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I practice it while I'm there in the middle of still dealing with this thing that is called COVID and all of that.
Yeah, for sure. So like, you know, for example, I just had to cancel my trip to convention in California because of, you know, the COVID restrictions and lots of different things. And it was so heartbreaking because I didn't get to go to Jamaica, and I kept thinking, well, it'll be okay because I'll go to California and I'll enjoy that. And, you know, and all the working and all of that to get ready for this trip and then have to pull the plug. I mean, it was, yeah, and I know there's lots of worse things that people could be going through, but it was rough that night, you know. And so I cried and I had my pity party, and I moved through it with, I mean, for me, what felt like warp speed. And I really believe it's because we've been having these conversations and we've been immersed in this work and understanding the value of emotions and allowing us to feel what we feel, you know, and not stopping it up and
I
letting
have
it
an
flow, right?
example. I have an
Mm-hmm.
example. I'm going to kick off of cam for a second because my physical form is freezing. I don't know why I'm so cold, but I'm going to get a cover up. But I'm still here, auditory.
All right. Well,
That
so
was weird because I just turned the air on.
that could be. So people don't know you're in the
But
same house.
yes,
So were you gonna say
but
something, Norman?
yeah, that there was something, but Donna's
It,
explanation of the cold kind of threw me off. It'll come back to me.
well, it's that example of what'll happen to you when you are allowing for yourself to be honored. And
Yes.
Norma's self needed it to be cooler, and my self needed it to be warmer. So here we are, a cover up.
Oh, I
And
remember
I'm
what I
back.
was going to say. I was when you were talking, Cindy, I was thinking your example is just showing us, yes, we can learn all we want to learn and take classes and do, but unless we put it in our daily practice, use it when things come up, that's when it actually, when the shit hit the fan, that's when,
Hmm.
the things we've learned and the things that we've, just put ourselves through to advance ourselves. Knowledge is power, but only if you use it.
For real. Yes.
And it's not comfortable because it's a very simple thing like me needing a cover up. All kinds of stuff went through my head. I'm going to be interrupting, and what if people online don't understand, and what if we get judged, and all these things go through your head right before you say, wait, I can reach into this teaching, or hey, I can honor me in this moment, and
Yeah,
it'll be okay. And that, you have to recognize it. That's why it's called practice. And the more we do it and do it and do it, the quicker we reach for the tool belt. And that's how it works.
Yes.
but
Yeah.
I think we're getting ahead of Cindy.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
no, you're not. It's fine. It's, the other thing is that to remember that life happens. I think many of us get on a spiritual path and you think, well, things are going to be great now because I'm doing my meditation and I'm doing my practices, and like life is not going to happen. Or
Hmm.
else, some people get into that metaphysical blame. Well, you brought this on yourself, don't you? Change your thinking, change your life. And that's not always helpful.
No.
That is not always helpful. So, even as I was in my sadness and having my, just feeling so bad about all of that, missing out, like all of that story, it was okay. So I cried for a couple of hours. My husband held me, let me walk through it, and then, it was done. It wasn't a couple of hours, but, kind of like kids, right?
Hmm.
Kids feel what they feel. They're going to
Yeah.
cry. They're not worried about, am I doing the ugly cry? Like, don't look at me. They got stuff coming out their nose and all that. And you just, you do what you need to do and move on through. But
Yeah.
us, because we are adults, oh, don't look at me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Or else you stop it up and don't let it move
Hmm.
through, and it will have its way with you.
Oh, it does. And
For
then when your
sure.
body is trying to avoid the pain, you start to blame others and start to make someone accountable for this pain because my body doesn't want to feel it. And that's when you start lashing out outside of you.
Yes, yes. So I think these are really valuable tools in this time, this
Hmm.
understanding of our emotions and knowing how to navigate them, especially when things are rough. Um, so that again, we're not just surviving, but actually thriving. And
Definitely.
also, right, to give people the tools for when things go wrong, like how to restore.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
So I'm going to pop up another slide here and just kind of give the overall framework, because we're kicking it off like this. 12 months of self-renewal sounds like a long time, but every month is going to be a different a different aspect. But here's the kind of the purpose, right? Like what we're here to do. So our intention with this work is to raise consciousness, right? To help develop compassion and to help, not participants, this was written for the course, but to help folks who are out there listening to experience and as we all explore the power to affect personal and collective change. So we're working in the realms of ourselves, our interpersonal relationships, and also the global picture. And then there's three aspects, right? Consciousness, compassion, and connection. So what consciousness looks like for the self is self-awareness. What consciousness looks like in our relationships is awareness of what other people are going through. And then on a global scale, it's appreciating our interdependence and our oneness. The next area being compassion. We're going to talk about compassion for ourselves and how we develop compassion for others and recognizing our common humanity. And then, mindfulness and relationship skills and also service. So that's just kind of an overview. And then, of course, every month is a different aspect of that conversation.
I'm really super excited.
Yes.
I'm ridiculously excited about it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and the other thing, I feel like I'm talking way too much, but but that, the idea that, that new thought communities, not just centers for spiritual living, but unity communities as well, and divine science, anybody else that's out there, in my mind, we could be the peace builders.
Mm.
I don't say should, but we could be the peace builders, of the world. We have these amazing teachings that are about consciousness, that are about creativity, that we can use to create the kind of world that we want to experience.
But you know
Because
what?
we talked about go ahead, Norma.
Even as the new thought community, we go out of our way to do the second two things, for others and for the world. But a lot of times, the most important part of starting with ourselves, we neglect.
Yes. So it really is a full, it's everything. It's ourselves, just like
Yes.
the Revolutionary Love Project was, right? There was ourselves, there
Mhm.
was others, and there was opponents. This really
Mhm.
has kind of that same orientation. So it's really pretty full.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I'm throwing out there, just out to, whoever is watching, that there are, let's say, Seventh-day Adventists. They have hospitals. That's their outreach into the world, right? Mormons do, what do you call it? Ancestry type stuff. That's kind of their gift to the world. And Catholics have Catholic charities. All these different groups have their thing that they do in the world. And I really feel like we are, with our teaching and with our orientation and our belief in the oneness of humanity, that this should be our thing, right?
To
Like how we
be
make a
the
mark in
peace
the world
builder.
in a real way. Mm-hmm. So thank you for joining me in that
It's
conversation and sharing
definitely
your
my
wisdom.
thing, being a peace builder in my
Yes,
own way, using the teaching. Yeah. And I
yes.
love, love, love that we have something that people can say, okay, how do I pick it apart?
Hmm. Right. And yeah, so I think it's something that has really broad appeal for people. I started with another member of our community, a nonprofit organization called Circle Up. So it's not an official outreach of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, but it is pretty much an outreach of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala.
Hmm.
But we created it as a separate entity, to not turn people off. Basically, if people say we're gonna, uh, we love this idea of peace building, but we don't want to support your church because I already go to my own church, or I don't believe
Hmm.
in whatever, and we don't want people to feel like there's any strings attached, right? Like when I was doing volunteer work at the prison, these guys could do a program, but you have to be willing to dedicate your life to salvation, right? To Jesus. Come to our church, whatever. And we don't
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah. I'm so glad. Because I mean, but see, it's hard to explain that to people, Cindy. It's very hard to explain that to people that what we have is a teaching that then complements your life with whatever other modality you decide you would love to prescribed to. So like, let's say, for example, I'm a nurse. Not everybody's going to be a nurse,
Hmm.
but not everybody's going to be Buddhist. Not everybody's going to be Christian. Not everybody's going, whatever works for you. And that is complementary with the teaching. And
Yes.
that's why I like that it doesn't have that feeling of, oh wow, if I don't convert to this thing, then I can't use these tools.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
And what we teach is universal principle anyway.
correct.
And
Yes.
that's by definition, it's universal. Like anybody could use it. It doesn't matter what your belief system, your sexual orientation, your socioeconomic, like whatever. It's everybody. Kids,
Hmm.
teenagers, seniors, like everybody. The stuff that we talk about applies to everybody.
Because that's why we
So
like referring to them as tools, not doctrines, not dogma, not, things you must know or do. Tools to help make your life better, which in turn makes the entire world better, one person at a time.
right, one
Hmm.
person at a time, one person at a time.
Yeah.
So we
Creating a
started
world
this.
that works for everyone. Yay!
Yes. There you go. We're not, we don't have to proselytize. We don't have to change anybody. People will change on
No.
their own,
Yeah.
as a result of
Because they'll
letting
let go of
go.
things that work for them anymore, or making different shifts within themselves. That's when, but you can't force them. Like I tell people, yeah, you think, oh, this person's sleeping, I should wake them up. Some people need to sleepwalk for a little bit.
Some
But
people
then
need
you just
to be a little
kind
more
of
sleep.
gently, yeah, you need to gently just move out of their way. Don't scare them or nothing, and wait until they wake up on their own.
Oh,
And then say,
that.
hey, welcome.
Yeah. There is that. When you're
Yeah.
so the topic for today is this idea of paradigms.
Mm,
Paradigms. And I want to make a bridge to what you just said, Donna. So let me pop this up
mhm,
here. So paradigms, what does that mean? Today we're talking paradigms, or starting the conversation on paradigms and possibilities. So paradigm is like your underlying assumption of how the world works, right? It's so a paradigm shift is that fundamental change in the underlying assumptions of our reality, basically our belief systems, right? So let's go like way back. There was a time in our human cultures and society where people thought that the world was flat. So when you believe that the world is flat, you're going to act in a certain way that's in accordance with that belief. Like, I can't get
mhm,
too far from home. I might fall over the edge.
mhm.
Right?
Right?
So the idea
Yeah.
that, the world is not flat, it's actually round, gave people freedom now, possibility to be able to move without fear,
Mhm, mhm,
you know? I think another paradigm that probably most people here would relate to is the paradigm of balance when you learn how to ride a bike.
mhm,
So, like, there's life before balance when you don't know anything about that, and you can read about it, you can imagine it, you can do all of that, but you don't get it until you're on the bike and you actually get it. And when you get
mhm,
balance, you never forget it. I
mhm,
haven't been on a bike in probably 10 years, and I bet you I could get on the bike right now and still ride it.
mhm,
And getting on that bike that first time, like learning how to ride a bike, my world went from my little backyard, with the little fenced in yard, to like, wow, now I can travel the neighborhood. Now I can go to my friend's house. My
mhm,
world opened up exponentially, right?
mhm,
And
Yep.
your world, and then you get wheels, like, like car, and that's another shift. It makes all kinds of things possible. So this idea of peace building for many is a paradigm all in itself. Yeah. So I again
mm.
been talking too much. I want to. What is some paradigms? Do you have any you want to share? Like there was before this thing happened, who I was before, and then this thing happened, and everything shifted, and I'm never the same.
Well, I remember back when I was a young girl. Um, won't really get into the situation what happened, but anyway, I went to live with my cousins. I was before that. I was raised. We were very poor. Um, Being the youngest of 14 children, there was not a whole lot of extra money going around for things that, I thought I might possibly want to do. So you just didn't ask because it just wasn't there. And then I went to live with my cousins who were the probably the equation of the Cosbys. You know, a black family that had extra money, could do things, go places, travel. Travel, you mean other than to downtown Ocala? Yeah, that was that was huge. So the paradigm shift for me was from, I wouldn't say extreme poverty, but we were probably in the very lower echelon of society. Then I moved up to probably the upper middle class. Um, and just the world opened up for me. You know, the thoughts of not being able to do this or not being able to go there, or, you know, what, all that changed. And it was just like almost instantaneously, it was like, wow, you know, you basically for me, it wasn't even, it was a, I thought only white people were able to live like that and do things because that's what you saw on TV. Because at the time there were no Cosbys.
Right.
You know, there were good times and, you know, all that stuff where all the black people were poor. So I thought that's just the way things were for us. And then, you know, when I went to live with my cousin, I realized it's not a black white thing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, then the exploration of that ensued. But yeah, that was the moment that it happened for
Mm.
me.
Mm.
Hmm.
Thanks,
Wow.
Norma.
Yeah.
What you got, Donna?
Uh, I had a pretty major one for me was, I think it was the moment when I decided to stop being a victim. And I don't even remember where I was and when that clicked in, but I think I decided that I needed to. I had had several situations happen to my physical body that were by force, let's put it that way. And I was really trying to be smaller. Like I'm a tall person, so I try not to be too much or too extra or too anything because at 5'9", I mean, people are looking at you, and I just thought it was because people were looking at me why I kept getting victimized. And then something, I don't remember the exact moment, but there was a moment that said, "Wait, what if?" And I think it started happening when I was at the center. I first started coming to the center, and then I said, what if I just was to turn up my beam a little bit and see what happened? And I think it was Reverend Peggy that was like, sing as if you're on a stage and it's 1,000 people in front of you, and we'll adjust the microphones. And she's like, stop trying to be small. And so I did that, and I thought, oh my God. And then I started realizing, wait, I did this as a victim. I tried to be smaller, not to be seen. But if I turn up the light and just allowed my whole everything to come forward, I just wasn't seen anymore by predators, but now my true self could be seen. And I no longer had to be a victim. I was no longer walking in fear. I was no longer doing that. I mean, I'm still taking care of my physical form and being aware of my surroundings, but that fear that used to grip me, as you know, from my past experiences as a victim, no longer rules my whole body. And I mean, I still have some struggles, but then I have to step back into, oh yes, I'm spirit expressing, blah blah blah, stand in that,
Right.
you know. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
huge shift for me because I was always so afraid to do anything and go anywhere, and you know, and even every person was a potential situation, and
Hmm.
living in that constant state of anxiety and fear is just hard.
Right. And when you think, when that's what you know, that's what you've been primed for, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, Don Miguel Ruiz, I
Hmm.
think, who does the Four Agreements, he
Hmm.
talks about how we get domesticated.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, we get trained just like, you know, like animals. A dog, you train a dog by reinforcing certain behaviors that you want to see. And that's what happens
Hmm.
to us as kids. You know, we get
Hmm.
certain behaviors are reinforced, other ones are not. You know, all those
Hmm.
things that we grow up like children are meant to be seen and not heard. How many of
What
us
about
have
Yeah.
you,
heard
Rev?
that one? Right?
What
Big
about a paradigm shift
boys
for
don't
you?
cry. What was that?
So what about a paradigm shift for you? Share.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I'm trying to think of a. I had a shift, a fairly recent one, and it's been a part of the shift that's happening with the center, where I was at a family gathering at my parents' house and just watching my mother. Everybody else is sitting there eating, doing their thing, and my mom is the last one to eat, and she's running around taking care of everybody else. By the time she sits down, her food is cold and whatever. And then and people are asking too, can I help you? Can I help you? Let me do this. Let me do that. Mom's doing everything. And that for me was, just in that observation of that moment was like, wow, that was part of my socialization growing up, part of my domestication, that this is what women do. To be a
Mm-hmm.
good mother, to be a good daughter, be a good woman, you take care of everybody else and you put everybody else's needs before yours. And then you take whatever scraps might be left over. Like that was the model, for me, that and not that my mom is to that extreme, but I saw it. It was just like, just, it really, yeah, it was an interesting mirror for me to see that. And, to acknowledge some of the dysfunction, maybe to say it that way, that has been created, even in our spiritual community. I'll own up to that because of that thing of I have to do it all. I'm supposed to do it all, or I'm not. I'm not being a good mother, a good daughter, a good minister, because my job is to take care of everybody else. So
Caring for
yeah,
caregivers. Now you see why we're doing that. Just saying. We got to
yes,
care for our caregivers, our people who care for others. We got to take care of them.
yeah, and we need to. I mean, we need to start with ourselves. I think is recognizing our
Yes.
our own belief systems.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that brings me to another slide. There's belief systems, right? We talked about the paradigm as your belief system.
Yeah.
So, so what is the belief system? And we talked a lot about this, like a whole year's worth of this conversation, is that set of principles or the worldview that helps us interpret our everyday reality. It helps us make sense of the world around us and our place in it. It's shaped by our own personal experiences and the values and beliefs of the families and cultures in which we were raised. And the core beliefs start when we're children. So first the voice
You
starts
know,
out here and then we internalize it.
we got to add something too. It's also steeped in that generational pain
Yes.
of
Yes.
whatever your family, people, blah, 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 went through.
Mm-hmm.
It's the women before us, all of that, gay folk, drop whatever blank people here. It's also round, surrounding all of that.
Yeah. And this topic really goes really well with what we're talking about at the center, and everyday wonder,
Mm,
and the idea of question everything. Question everything. Because as soon as we think we have the answers, we stop looking.
that's true. And the unfoldment stops.
Right. The
I
growth stops.
The
I think
growth.
about this, like, had I not been questioning my spirituality at the time, because some certain things, like for example, I've said before that I thought that God hated me. That was like, I'm like, God must hate me. This, what did I do? I was questioning and kept questioning, and it led me all the way to this moment, CSL Ocala. And I was like, finally, because even if you don't know the answer, you say, ooh, that's a good question. Let's unbox that. I
Right.
love that. Let's pull
And
it
that's a
apart.
paradigm, Donna, isn't it? If
Hmm.
you're LGBTQ, how many people have been told God hates them? You're going to hell.
Oh,
That's a
man.
paradigm that people are living day in,
Hmm.
day out, and
Hmm.
not questioning
Hmm.
it because that's what the culture has told us,
Yes.
right? There's something wrong with you. How many of us
Yeah.
are walking around feeling like, the broken toy, the misfit, whatever, because I'm not good enough? Because the voices out here, when you were a kid or at work or you're whatever, have said that, and now you internalize it and believe it.
And how
Hmm.
apropos
Hmm.
that it shares the same initials, it's BS.
is BS. Yes.
Most of our belief systems is BS.
It's BS. It's
Mm-hmm.
exactly, it is BS. And the world is going to
Mm-hmm.
show up for you as you believe,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's
You start to
biblical.
find it and see it. It starts to show up. Like, you buy that color car and all of a sudden you see it everywhere. Oh, how did I not see this car before?
Yeah. Right. It's where your attention is
Yes.
focused.
What you
That's what it
focus on is
is.
what you see.
Yep. Yeah. I got a slide for that. Let me pull this one up. I love this one. I love this one because of the analogy of the glasses. Our
Mhm.
belief systems are the glasses through which we each view the world and anticipate what's likely to unfold. Our behavior is always loyal to our beliefs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when you believe the earth is flat, you act in a certain way. When you
Mm-hmm.
believe that you are not worthy, you behave in a certain way. And we
Mm-hmm.
are all wearing these lenses from
Mm-hmm.
childhood domestication.
Yeah. So one of the things I have said to nurses, and I use this teaching a lot in the hospitals, and I said to them, okay, when they talk about their kids, oh, my kid did da 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 da, I say, start speaking to their potential. Speak to them as if they're already whatever it is you want them to be. And when you do that, they won't ever disappoint you.
Yeah.
They will rise to that potential. Don't say, I'm proud of you because you did yada, yada, yada. Just say, how wonderful are you?
Yeah.
Because they are wonderful. My kids are amazing.
That's a paradigm shift in itself, right? Looking for the
Yeah.
good, looking for the possibility in another person instead of
Hmm.
identifying all the things that's wrong with them or how they annoy you or whatever, you know?
Hmm.
It's like the little exercise we did this morning with the lights off. Does your mind go to fear in the dark, or does your mind go to possibility or wonder, and flipping the switch from fear, to wonder and leaning in. So, oh my gosh, I'm looking at the time. I can't believe how much has passed already. And somehow we lost Norma. Norma dropped off. Here we go. Hey, girl.
She's
We
back.
noticed you dropped off there. Are you back
Lost the
all the
internet.
way?
Oh,
Internet dropped me.
Yes, I see that. I'm going to take a quick look here
I think
before
I'm
we.
back.
You're back. You're
you are
back.
back.
You're back. Before we close out here, let me see like some of the comments people has said. This is yeah, even us fall prey to domestication. Mary Ellen, she's Reverend, right? I think that's what she's saying with
Hmm.
the us. That
Yeah.
we all do.
Hmm.
And let's see, Deb talking about her mom. Yeah, I think probably a lot of us grew up with that example. I'm sure that's not just my family.
Yeah, it's not.
A
But
woman's place.
and you know what came to me too? You know that saying, when mama's happy, if mama ain't happy, then ain't nobody happy. Okay. Well, if mama don't eat, then she's not happy. Then how's she gonna take care of everybody?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So mama has to be happy in order for everybody to be happy.
Yeah,
And that's why we support mama.
right. Well, we know better now. I
Oh,
love
we do.
historical fiction. I love to watch historical fiction, all these things on Netflix and whatnot, to see what what was the basis for how we came into these beliefs.
Mm, yeah.
And there was a time in our culture, in our society, when women were property. Like
Hmm.
your kids were property.
Hmm.
And some of those things didn't change really till relatively recently. So we're still dealing with the residue of a lot of stuff that we didn't create.
And that's why that self-awareness is so key. And it's
Yes.
not just awareness of myself, physical self here, but it's the capital S self, becoming aware of that we are a part of the it, whatever you may want to call it.
Yeah. And the paradigm shift
And
from going to I'm not enough to I am the living, breathing expression of spirit itself.
how awesome is that? Yeah,
That's a huge
yeah,
paradigm shift right there.
yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Because I think I've used that with the whole ocean versus drop of the ocean. But I'm like, if you took one little tiny molecule and put it under a microscope, how amazing is that? The idea that is ocean, every whale, every dolphin, all of that is in that one little drop.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for us.
Right.
And we are creative spark source just sitting in the spot.
Yeah.
It's
That's a
awesome.
huge paradigm shift.
I think it's
I know
probably the biggest one.
it is. And I don't, I think sometimes paradigms, this is another thing about paradigms, they can happen in a moment or they can happen over time,
Mm,
right? It
yeah.
doesn't have to be all at once. And I think sometimes when those paradigms shift, it's very unsettling, right? Like you can, I mean, sometimes people can be resentful, like, why didn't I know this before? Or I've wasted so much time. Like I'm careful now. I used to want to share this with everybody. Like this teaching is for everybody. Don't you get it? And then I realized it
Yeah.
really is not. Not everybody is ready.
No.
Sometimes you're not mentally
Exactly.
ready to take on that kind of understanding or responsibility that goes with it, or it's just too radical of a shift.
Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. It pushes way too many alarms.
It pushes too many. Like, yeah, it's like too much at one time. I know. I've read a story of someone who like had been without sight since they were a child. It was either sight or hearing, one of the two, and it was restored in adulthood. And the person just couldn't handle it. You think they would be thrilled, it's like, wow, I can see, that it was too much, too fast, and too unsettling. It's like having the rug pulled out from under you.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I guess the bottom line is everything happens in its right time.
Yeah. A teaching like this, and this is what I love about this particular topic and talking about self-renewal for for the whole year, is that it gives you a chance to kind of getting in little tiny bites, Oh, what is this feeling? Oh, wait, a paradigm shift may occur for you. And if that happens, this is what it may feel like.
Yeah.
You may, but there's also that feeling of grief around the things you have to let go of or potentially think you have to let go of.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about like family members. That was a potential for me. Like, oh man, what if my family members never speak to me again because I'm not subscribing anymore to, the belief system that they have?
Right.
And I just had to lean back in the fact that love was at the core of everything. And if that was the case, then the love would shine through. We would find commonality and we would still be family. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. It wasn't easy though, right? I mean,
It wasn't easy. And it was definitely a scary moment at first.
mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of gentle, and I had to be the
But you know what's
example for
interesting though
myself.
is watching.
Go ahead, Norma.
What's interesting for me though is watching some of these people that you can see them halfway through the shift, and you want to just grab their arm and say, "Come on."
Mm-hmm.
But it's just you have to let them go through the process at their own time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think,
Because it is something they have to make a decision with themselves to say that this is how I'm going to do my life. And no matter what, this is how I'm going to do my life. And be willing to walk that talk and sit in it, even when it's nasty.
yeah.
And it's a big decision. It's easy to say, I'll just blame some outside energy source that's doing it. Yeah. It's it's easier to blame somebody else.
Yeah. Well, before
That's
we
the old
wrap
way.
up, before we wrap this thing up, though, I want to say, because I don't know if it sounds scary to people to say I'm going to take on this study and this change for my life, but the upside totally makes it worth it, right? I mean,
And
like Norma, the fact that you realize, you don't have to, like, poverty isn't a given. Like I could live in a different way. Donna, how much we would all be diminished if you had never stepped into your power, right? I mean, I think of
yeah,
people that finally came out. One of my best friends, like, I can't even imagine that he ever tried to play it straight.
mm,
You know who I'm talking about. Like,
yeah,
how could that? I can't even imagine. It makes me cry almost to think of what that life must have been to keep so much of that inside for fear of what other people are going to think when, you know what, it's all BS anyway. Somebody else all made that stuff up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And more people are stepping out, and more people are saying, "This is me,"
Yeah. Own it
and it's
all.
okay. Yeah, and it's okay,
Yes.
especially when you're not harming anyone else, in the process.
But you know what? As each of us are making that own paradigm shift for ourselves, you notice it spreading out into the community and into the global, because now you'll see commercials on TV that show, same sex relationships and the things that were taboo 10, 15, 20 years ago, are becoming the norm. And that's the way paradigm shifts
Yeah.
work.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now we can be conscious about it and
Mm-hmm.
not as scared, not to say it doesn't have its moments, but that's part of the definition of courage, is to feel the fear and do it anyway. And,
Yeah.
right. And that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about this year. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
wow, we are short on time. I think this is just the opening of the conversation. As I said, this is just the first one. So we'll explore a little bit more on paradigms next week and for the rest of the month. And I guess I'll share an overview of what we're going to be talking about, maybe for the year, for those who are interested. Let's see. And Deb's put, this is a quote I know from a guy, LOL, something about, meaning Ernest Holmes, change your thinking, change your life. Here we go. Change your thinking, change your life. It's kind of our motto, right? At
Mm-hmm.
Spiritual Living, from Ernest Holmes. Change your thinking, change your life. So, I'm going to just put it out there to people to be thinking about the ways that they would like for their life to change, to transform in this next these next months, this next year, and embrace some of these ideas and teachings. So, y'all want to
Yeah,
say
and
anything in closing?
so the only other thing I wanted to add is that even though you join us on these conversations, and even though we give you these tools or ideas, it does not mean that you have to subscribe to any of it. Put it in the laboratory of your life and then say, does this work for me? And if the answer is yes, then yay. And that's what's so great about it. It's open at the top and it's saying, give a thought, think it over, but nothing is beaten upside your head or anything like that.
Yes.
A lot of
Yes.
it's just different ways. That's why I love it being called New Thought. You can just have a thought. Like you said, change your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
So join us
tools.
for the combo. Tools.
What you got, Norma?
Oh,
No, I was
And
just
closing.
agreeing with Donna. That's what we call what we do is giving tools. I
mm-hmm.
know my internet's kind of scattery, so I'm not trying to say a whole lot, but tools to use in the laboratory of your life.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the invitation. That was another paradigm shift when I walked into the center, and Reverend Peggy, said, I invite you to consider, not this is what we believe, this is what you have to
Mm-hmm.
believe, this is how we toe the line here. You're either with us or you're out. you know? And I just think an invitation is something you can say yes to or no, and there's no hard feelings. It's like, yeah, I love an invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that then makes us what? Possibilitarians. I love that.
Possibilitarians, yes, possibilitarians.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on that note, my friends, love you, ladies. Thank you for being here this afternoon. It has been a long day for all of us, but it's been just wonderful, and I thank you. And we'll tune in again next week.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and we're not doing Zoom today because we had our in-person gathering. So we'll just have to catch up with y'all next week. And if people want to connect with us, they can do that from our Facebook page or from our website. Sign up for the newsletter. There's lots of different ways that people can connect with us, right?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. And a little bit of a plug, caring for caregivers tomorrow
Definitely.
for those who are
Yes.
on Phoenix, because I know we are broadcasting to our Phoenix people. So don't forget caring for caregivers at 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow p.m.
Wonderful. And it is also recorded, right, on your site.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
yes, we
Hmm.
should, next time you come, we'll make a little banner for that so people can remember to do that, to
Okay.
support your Phoenix is rising. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and just put up our information here for people that might want to support these conversations, this ministry, and then we'll wrap it up. So thank you, ladies. Mwah, love you.
Mwah.
Hmm.
Bye.
Bye. All right, here we go. So if you enjoy the messages that we offer here, we invite you to donate to the center. It's important to give, as I said earlier on, that as we give, it's like planting the seed for what you want to get back. It sets the stage. So if it's friendship you need, be a friend. If it's money that you'd like to have more of, give money, and give where you're spiritually fed. And I hope that place is Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. So you can donate to the center from our website at cslocala.org/donate, or text tithe. Once you have this number programmed into your phone, if you've got a smartphone, what you do is text 352-320-5110. And once it's set up, the money will go from your account to ours very easily. All you put in is the amount you want to give. And so grateful, so grateful for all of you who watch and who support us financially, and who support us with your muscles and the work, because we've got lots of people that are helping out here at the center as well and could always use more. So here's the affirmation: it is the nature of life to give of itself, as it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom. It is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. And you are a blessing. And I'm grateful. And so it is. And let's see, our closing prayer. But before we do that, little reminders. Next week, if you're in the Ocala area and would like to join us in person, we are having circle conversations next Sunday at 11. I'm not sure how many people are going to show up. So it'll be one big circle, or it will be several small ones. And we will be discussing the topic of the month, which is wonder. It goes along really well with our topic here in our virtual gatherings. And we have a movie night the following week. It's on a Friday evening. Let me check the date. And you can always look at our website for this information as well, or our Facebook page. The movie night is the 21st. That's a Friday at 7. We'll be showing Soul. And then, is that right? That's not right. It's 28th. No, it's 21st. Oh no. We'll make sure it's in the chat. The last thing is the annual meeting, which is January 30th, and that is at the center at 11. And if you are interested in the future of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala or want to be involved, it will be a great time to join us. All right, now we'll close out with our prayer for protection. And it goes this way: the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I pray you have a phenomenal week, that any obstacles, seeming obstacles, just turning into stepping stones to your greater yet to be. Have a fabulous week, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see you again as we take this deep dive into self-renewal. Thanks so much. Take care.